Well, a new warning from Ash Carter. The new defense secretary says al-Qaeda is on the rise once again in Yemen, the terror group taking territory in the troubled nation. While the world's power focuses on ISIS and on the Houthis in Yemen as well, Carter says this, quote, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which you may know as ACAP, has seized the opportunity of the disorder there and the collapse of the central government, which was U.S. and Saudi-backed. He goes on to say, you see them making gains on the ground there as they try to take territory, seize territory, and these battle lines. Joined now by Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst. Ralph, good to have you with us this morning. Welcome back to the program. So, you know, it's not surprising that in the middle of what's going on in Yemen, which the president at one point not too long ago heralded as a success story of our counterterrorism strategy, that ACAP would say, gee, you know, everything's up for grabs in this country right now. This is our moment.
Yeah, well, nature abhors a vacuum. Terrorism loves a vacuum. And what we saw, I want to try to lay out the sort of a domino effect here, Martha. This goes back to the president's obsession with a nuclear deal with Iran. He was so singularly obsessed with that he wouldn't stand up to Iran on any of the other fronts in the Middle East, such as Iraq or Syria, elsewhere where Iran is engaged. So Iran's latest axis of advance is in Yemen, where Shia Iran backed the Shia Houthis. They overthrew the U.S.-backed, predominantly Sunni government, and now the Houthis, largely unopposed on the ground, are rampaging through the country. Well, it's a split country. And we had formerly some cooperation from Sunni tribes that didn't want al-Qaeda there, didn't want ISIS there. I mean, the Yemenis are the hillbillies of the Middle East, and hillbillies are tough. But now, because of this Shia takeover, many of those Sunni tribes that didn't want al-Qaeda in are going to be forced into an uneasy alliance with al-Qaeda or Islamic State, and it gets worse and worse.
That's a great point, and it makes you wonder several things. Let's look at the map, of this area here. Let's pull up Yemen and Saudi Arabia, because you can see why Saudi Arabia absolutely does not want Yemen to fall under the control of Iran, because it goes right down to the Straits and the entrance in Aden, that they do not want to fall under the control of Iran. So now the United States finds itself in an increasingly complicated situation, because we have, been working on this deal with Iran, who backs the Houthis, and so we were hands off in Yemen for quite some time. But then we had to go convince the Saudis that, don't worry, we are absolutely still on your side because you're our old ally. So we're going to help you with some airstrikes, and we're going to help you with intelligence that we can from a distance on the ground. So my question for you is, if we're helping the Sunni side in this battle in Yemen, at what point do you end up in an uncomfortable relationship with ISIS and ACAP as well, Ralph?
Well, it's spun totally out of control, Martha. The White House is not engaged in this, not seriously, and we're certainly not going to wind up on the side of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula or Islamic State. But you're right, there's spillover, just as in Iraq. We inadvertently don't want to do it, but our air power is supporting Iran's effort. It's utterly muddled. Right now, today, the Iranian foreign minister is in Pakistan trying to persuade the Sunni Pakistanis not to help the Sunni Saudi Arabians in Yemen, who have been their partners. This is complex beyond the ability of the White House, of this White House, to grasp it. And again, as long as this White House is obsessed with this Iran deal, Iran nuke deal, Tehran knows that Obama will not confront them. So at least through the end of June, nothing is going to happen that makes a difference as far as the United States is concerned. And al-Qaeda is growing in strength. Islamic State is moving in. And al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is the most virulent, vicious, anti-American franchise in al-Qaeda.
They absolutely are. All right. Stay tuned, because that situation is not going anywhere quickly. Ralph, thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha.